in it at all. It never occurred to me that that guy could possibly be involved in this. And the guy was laughing. He said that was like the funniest thing. Is when that guy, who I know who that guy is.
Why is it so funny?
And he just started laughing. He said it was hilarious because I know who that guy is who was talking about. He said he was standing right there and he watched the guy kick you out.
It's only taken me 10 years for me to laugh at this.
Yeah, because of the trauma.
Yeah, for the trauma.
You know, you're so. But
so it was 3 guys.
Okay, well, he only showed one guy.
Okay, there was one guy who was Australian, and I won't.
This guy's not Australian.
Yeah, I'm not going to identify the nationality of the other 2, but
this guy's is Israeli.
I said we're not going to identify the nationality of the other 2. And because I could walk back in there today, like it's over and done with, and you know, it's all water under the bridge. But
what year was this, by the way?
This was 2001 October.
Oh my God, it's 10
very
years.
Much written on my psyche, but
yeah, to the okay, it's like 10 years to the day.
Right, okay. But like the Australian guy, he'd given me an aliyah the week before.
And you weren't Jewish.
Depends how you view it.
You weren't Jewish. It's black and white.
It's not black and white.
It's black and white. You're a Jew.
It wasn't aliyah. It wasn't aliyah. It was Hagba.
Okay.
And anyway, he ended up getting kicked out of there like a few weeks later.
Why?
I'm not exactly sure, but.
Oh, maybe that's why I don't see the guy there. Because I don't know who you're talking about. I do know. I'm not gonna say anything. And who's the third guy? Do I know him?
I was familiar with all 3. So,
but this particular guy, I know.
I say
hi to him every day.
Yeah. One guy, I walked past him on Friday night. You know,
I see this guy all
and
the time.
he wished me good Shabbos. I've been at Shabbat meals where he's been there. He's been perfectly cordial, civil. You know.
Did you guys ever like confront?
No, we never talked it out. Like, you know, I understand why they threw me out. And I understand why, you know, I can go back today. So, you know, these things have their own ebb and flow. But yeah, it was very painful at the time. But I brought that on myself. Yeah.
People want to know this.
What?
When you shave that beard, you should have it done on you should charge money on that. Like maybe like each person gets to cut like a little bit off for like you can like really turn that into some sort of something. You know what I mean? As a fundraiser for yourself, for the show. Like maybe we'll cut it on the show. We could do it 2 ways. If you want to be one of the people that cuts it, we'll give us a certain amount of money and we'll cut it, right? And then the other thing is like I could cut it and like people could send in money as I'm cutting it.
Hey, great. I've been invited to the Sex Nerd Sandra podcast. Sexpert guest Jamie Waxman.
Woohoo! You're there. Laugh all you want. You'll be there. Did you read all this stuff?
Yeah. Nothing that seemed terribly compelling.
Okay, but they were good questions. All right.
So do you have anything else before we
Nah, I'm spent.
So to speak. This week's Torah portion is A, Deuteronomy chapter 11 to Deuteronomy chapter 16. So this Torah portion begins with Moshe telling the Israelites, I set before you a blessing and a curse. So every choice you make contains a blessing and a curse. Moshe does not say a blessing or a curse. He says a blessing and a curse. Almost all blessings contain curses, and almost all curses contain blessings. The ability to look for the good in what happens distinguishes the successful person. Everybody who's successful at something has a positive mental attitude in that area of life. If you leave what God wants, you'll worship other gods.
So true. So true. And there's no shortage of other gods. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Torah claims that everything becomes a god.
Yeah.
You're either a slave to one thing,
right,
to God, and you serve God, and there everything else falls by the wayside, right? Everything else is automatically under control, right? Because you realize that God controls everything else, and nothing else bothers you. The only thing in the world that you focus on is doing God's work, right? Because that's like total immersion in God. Total servitude to God means everything else on the planet means nothing to you. All the other worldly matters mean nothing to you because you know that's just God pulling the strings. The removal of God in its entirety means everything else becomes a god. You become a slave to everything because you see no control of it being taken over by God. A person who's an atheist, or a person who's like, an agnostic who doesn't believe in God, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is really sad because they walk around and they say, I don't believe in God, but the truth is they believe in infinite amount of gods. Their atheism is like polygamy because everything in their world becomes a god. Whether it's, they have to wake up in the morning, they have to rely on the God of waking me up. Everything becomes, you're serving everything. Everything needs to be served because God is not behind it all. Whereas we don't have that problem. We just serve one God and He controls everything. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
So it reminds me of this article I read in Playboy magazine by...
How did you go from there to there?
Trust me, listen, by Al Goldstein.
Okay.
And there's an article about John Holmes, the king.
Okay.
And he concluded it by saying, I remember something that my father told me, don't let your life be run by your schmeckler.
Okay.
So that's wisdom from Al Goldstein in Playboy magazine in an essay on John Holmes, about his Torah.
Yeah, well, he was on top of it. Go ahead.
So your whole being yearns, according to this week's Torah portion, Deuteronomy chapter 12:15. Your whole being yearns to slaughter and to eat meat. So I'm conscious of no such desire. So many inherent desires, yearnings that we have inside can be propagandized out of you, just as my innate meat-eating desire was propagandized away by my Seventh-day Adventist upbringing. So I think for many religious Jews, many temptations that regular people have just aren't tempting. Like for you, it may not even be tempting to commit adultery. It's like, you wouldn't even consider it.
Married women turn off.
Right. See, so I'm not quite there yet. I can't say that it's not a temptation.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
What you have never had a day in your life where you've thought about eating a steak, real juicy steak. Never thought about a hamburger,
no.
Smelt like a.
No.
Okay,
no.
Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have less temptation for, less desire for?
Okay.
Eating meat,
mm-hmm.
or having a homosexual relationship? Do 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 boop ba da 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 do 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 do.
Okay.
Bump ba da.
This is embarrassing. I've never had a desire to eat meat.
You're an honest, at least. Okay, so that just goes to show that everyone has at least a little bit of a desire for something that's bad.
Yeah.
Something that's controlled by the Torah says you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
You will have a desire for that. Torah never says don't eat meat, right?
Right.
Torah is fine if you eat meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you have no desire for it.
Right.
You have no desire for it because
right.
it's not your Yetzer Hora.
Right.
Your Yetzer Hora doesn't come to you and says, "Lady, let's have a piece of meat together," right? Right?
Yeah.
So that's why.
Okay.
Okay, so we did that. Now I also have another thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but say this.
Mm-hmm.
I think you once posted on your Facebook, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe more, something like, "Oh, I'm having almond milk, almonds. I'm having almonds." Do you remember this? You're having almonds.
Chocolate almond milk.
Chocolate almond milks and bananas. I'm having that, and it reminds me of
smoothies.
Reminds me of when I was a kid and my mother made me almond milk and bananas. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, this is not going to bring home the ladies. Let me tell you something. What I know about women.
Mm-hmm.
Women are not looking for little boys who are taken care of by their mother. Okay?
Well, the woman who taught me recorder in 5th grade when I went over there.
Okay. But women want a man, not a little boy, okay? So